right, so welcome to another edition of the Deals for Dentists podcast. And today we're joined by Dr. Casey Culberson. So thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So where are you zooming in from today?
I am just north of Seattle, Washington, in a town called Mill Creek.
Okay. All right. So you can find Dr. Culberson's promo on Deals for Dentists. It's actually buy 2 MolarMediaMounts or 2 HoverShields and get one free. Also, if you enter the code Deals for Dentists at checkout, you'll get an extra 10% off your order. So that's awesome. So again, welcome aboard. And you actually, you have a few things that I want to get to. The first is about your company, MolarMediaMount, where you currently have 2 products, right? You have the MolarMediaMount and the HoverShields. Can you go into your whole what your products are and how they help dentists?
Yeah. So being a dentist myself, I mean, that's my primary occupation. I'll give you a quick little backstory. I was working on a kid. We had TVs installed. We did a full remodel like 15 years ago. TVs were put in our office, but kind of in a spot where you just couldn't see them. If you're doing the DO on number 15 or a crown prep on 3, no one was going to be able to watch the TV. So no one really was like engaged in it at all. But one little kid I was like doing something on a kid and they were like squirming and fighting. And I just asked them if they were okay. And they were like, they basically said I was blocking SpongeBob. Like they couldn't see the TV. And it kind of was this light bulb moment of like, wow, this is powerful how like encompassing it is to this kid. So I had bought a bunch of dental supplies and I got a free like iPad mini. And I was like, I just had this moment like, wow, the light is always in the person's eye or in their mouth. Their eyes are next to their mouth. What if we put the screen like right next to the light? So I came up with something and it's just a little arm. It's very lightweight. The whole thing's only 6.5 ounces and it holds an iPad. Sorry. So it holds an iPad right, like, so the dental light's here and this holds an iPad. And the nice thing is you can take it off and I have something called Yappy, which is like patient communication. They can sign their consent forms on here. They pick, Netflix on here. Like the assistant can help them. It's not like on a screen. I mean, you can put a screen in the correct place straight on the ceiling, but that involves putting a TV on the ceiling, which is complicated. This is like a few minutes to install it. And it just holds the iPad right where they can see it. And I just prototyped it. I actually have a friend that's a prototyper. So he 3D printed something for me. And I tried it. I wasn't trying to be like, have a product. I just wanted it in my office for my patients. Because I thought anything I can do that makes their experience better, that, is better for them, better for me, and better for my business. So I put it in and people just raved about it. They loved it, because we have Bluetooth headphones. So they are like engrossed and they're giggling while I'm prepping crowns, and like that, as a dentist, we know that makes us feel good. If your patient is like completely somewhere else, they're obviously not just sitting there staring at the ceiling miserable. So yeah, so came up with it and then I was like, that pushed me over to like, wow, I should do something. I should just go for it. I'm more of a doer than an idea person. I'm more of like maybe a risk taker in that way, where I finally had an idea and I was like, I'm going to do it. So I think I have friends that are idea people and they have 30 ideas. They don't ever do anything. So this one pushed me and I just did it. And I had a designer design it. We ordered, a bunch of product and just started selling it. And it's been great. It sells all over the world. So
you're a dentist, but you're also kind of like an inventor, like Doc and Back to the Future.
That's right. Just on the side.
The long white coat and like the goggles, and he invented the flux capacitor.
Absolutely.
Is that your process? Do you like, because then you also pivoted and with the times and you made your other product, right? So
yeah, so actually I got that one I can't take credit for. A customer emailed me and said, hey, I've seen it was right when the pandemic started and people could not get face shields. And there's a bunch of people that were making these like plastic shields, and some people are making boxes that go over the patient. But she was like, hey, is there any way you could make a acrylic shield that would be on the end of your MolarMediaMount? And I was like, aha, that's a great idea. And so I wasn't working at the time so it's pretty simple, but I happen to have, I mean, the beauty was I happen to have the little ball and the socket joint, and then an extra arm. So you add a little extra arm, and then it snaps on here, and then it just hangs. Sorry, this is an older one. And it just hangs a shield. So like when you're working, instead of wearing a face shield, I just use this all day, and it's great. It doesn't echo. It doesn't follow you from room to room. So it's in every room for me. And so that's kind of great. Like if it gets splatter on it, I don't have to like clean it before I go do a quick hygiene check. The hygienists love it because they can just, they're just sitting there working. I just had I'm in a space sharing thing at work, and the other dentist, one of his hygienists is moving, and he's like, can I buy one of those from you? Like the hygienist one, I mean, they're in our office, obviously they're like, I gave it to him, but he wanted it for where he was moving to, because he can't imagine working without it. So you have to have the MolarMediaMount, and then this is an add-on that hooks to it. So you can still use it, and you can take this off and snap on the iPad. But so we pivoted a little bit. So you get both. If you buy the MolarMediaMount, you can do MolarMediaMount with the HoverShield, and then you can go back and forth. And I still do, sometimes. So I don't know how long. It's going to be interesting whether these face shields stick around. I think they're going to.
Right. Yeah.
I think you see stuff splattered on there, and you're like, oh, I can't imagine not having that anymore. But this is nice because it's not claustrophobic at all, and hot. It's not hot. It's just the way. And it also is lower, so it catches stuff way earlier. So, not 100% prevention of getting stuff on you, but if it hits lower at lower angles, it like doesn't get on your clothes as much as well, because your face shield only covers your face. So that's nice as well. So it only takes a couple times to see like your surgical high speed that you're taking out a wisdom tooth catch like some blood or something and spray all over your screen. You're like, wow, that would have been my face. So yeah, that part has been great. So yeah, so we sell both of them, and yeah, it's been an interesting process. It was hard to get the plastic in the beginning. So in the beginning, we were struggling to find the acrylic when everyone was making all those sneeze guards for everywhere. So, but now we have them like manufactured. So now we're good.
Yeah. I find the face shield to be such a nuisance with, fogging up, or you're wearing loops, and it's just one extra thing on your head for your, for your neck. And it's, I find them uncomfortable and kind of hot and foggy. So that's a great alternative there.
Yeah.
Now, does the MolarMediaMount, does that, so that moves around with the light. So like I have the patient, like I lift their head way up when I'm working on like a number 15, DO. So that if I'm shifting the light, that'll follow.
Just moves with it. And then it's on a ball socket joint. So it just can tip. So it tips really easily. So I might bump it with the back of my hand to like tip it. And it's pretty amazing. No matter what you're doing, they can watch it, because it's always, like I said, the light is always in their mouth. So it's always right next to the light, kind of at light level.
So when my kids are on their iPad, they're like in a trance. Yes. And I like, the house could be on fire and they wouldn't even care or know. Do you find that this is almost like hypnotic for patients? They're watching a movie, and maybe they weren't as numb as they could have been, but they are in a little bit of a trance because they're watching a movie and they're in a different place. Do you find that it becomes almost like like an extra little form of anesthesia for them?
Actually, someone took, like, I gave some product to someone that was getting I think they were getting it was postdoc training, and they did a study on it, and they found that like watching movies, playing video games for a kid is the same effect as nitrous oxide on them. So I got a great review once that said, you take the MolarMediaMount and isolite in a kid, and it's like working on a typodont. Yeah. And it's really pretty amazing. I mean, they are in there. And like, what's funny is like, you have to get them to leave your chair. They're so like, you stop the procedure and they don't even care. There's like so in their show. So It's also nice when you got to go run and do a hygiene. Like some days we have triple hygiene, and like if someone's watching a movie, they're not even paying attention when you walk out of the room. They don't care. So you go to your hygiene exams, come back, they just don't care. It's great.
You must have sold a ton of these to pediatric offices, or
pediatrics. understand two things. They understand that the TV has to be visible, and they understand the power of it. So there's a lot of
Mhm.
that. So
Your commercial is hilarious. Are you going to be making another commercial for
I
the
know I
Molar
need to.
Media Mount?
I just saw a thing on Facebook today. The guy that made that commercial with me just did Pearl Jam's latest. He directed and shot their latest video. So I don't think
That's
he's
pretty
going to
cool.
be working on MolarMediaMount anytime soon again,
Well,
but
maybe
he's
that was,
funny.
you gave him his big break, so maybe he'll remember
That's
you
right.
and
That's right.
throw you a
Good
bone.
guy.
So tell me about so you're a full-time practicing dentist. Tell me what it's like to have this idea. Take me from, from the idea and conception of this to actual fabrication of a product like this. Like, you had that eureka moment, you had that idea, you took the action and you actually did it. But you said your friend was in the
Well, first step,
business.
yeah, first step back up. I actually made it. I mean, it's like classic. I made it in my kitchen out of PVC pipe first,
Mhm.
just something that I could hook to the light. I zip tied it to my light at work and just made it something that would hold an iPad mini at the time. And then they liked it. That was like proof of concept for my office. And then we made like a real one with a prototype. That was kind of nice having a prototyper. But nowadays with the internet, I mean, you can have someone prototype. Like there's people that will print it and make it and just mail it to you. So that's not a hard hurdle. And then then I like really proved the concept. And then I kind of from there just took a leap of faith and worked straight. I found a designer that had worked with the factory, with injection molding, and we had the molds made and we just made them. So, and kind of went for it. And then it was just all, Dental Town and Facebook ads and all that, and was getting kind of word of mouth. And I've never really been to trade shows. I went to a local one once, but I've never done the trade show because we all know, like, I talked to the CEO of Isolite. He's like, don't leave the golden goose to chase rainbows. That was his
Yeah.
point. Like, if I take off 3 days of work to go to a trade show, it's like I'm way more lucrative just going to work. So
Yeah.
I don't do it. I don't hustle it at trade shows, all that, just because I have a job. So that's one limiting thing, right? But yeah, and then I just from there it was just word of mouth and orders and any opportunity we have to do podcasts, that kind of thing as well.
So the products are made, they're not 3D printed, they're made by injection molding.
No,
Can you
they're
explain
injection
that?
molded. And the thing about a dental light is it's on a spring, so it has to be crazy light. That's why there's
Mhm.
kind of a niche, because there's iPad mounts that you can buy on Amazon, but they're way too heavy and they weight down the dental light. So it kind of
Mhm.
had to be custom made with aluminum and really light plastics that are strong enough to hold it. So it's kind of a little thing where you can't just buy something off the counter. So yeah, they're injection molded and come all in a box with all the parts needed to fit to any light in any situation. So has all these little rubber silicone inserts. So
And where's the factory? Where is it made?
factories in China
Okay.
where your iPhone's made. Yep.
So have you actually been out there and
I
seen the
have
factory?
not. I have not. And when I was having issues with the factory, like little problems, like thing about a factory in China is they're really good at making stuff, really good. They're not really good at like logically making assumptions, right? So I
Mhm.
talked to my friend that he has a denim company, he has a store and stuff, and he's like, "How many times you been to China?" I was whining about something that they missed, like they didn't make the locking nut tight enough one time or something. He's like, "How many times you been to the factory?" I was like, "None." He's like, "How many times you talked to him on Skype?" I was like, "Well, I have a designer that does that for me." He's like, "You didn't hop on the call?" He was basically giving me like,
Yeah.
you got to kind of manage it a little bit. So yeah,
Yeah, I would find that fascinating to see it go
I know.
from, the computer to actually being made, because I've been to a few implant companies and I went there because, I place a lot of implants and I was fascinated to see how they were made. And it was basically just like this big rod of titanium that goes through this machine and it's machined into the implants and the different parts. And it was amazing to just see it go from this rod
Right.
to implants and other parts, and then they have this big clean room where they package everything. But I find that stuff amazing and fascinating, how it can go from a design on a computer to actually being a physical product.
Yeah,
So
there used to be a show. I can't remember what it was called, or like how things are made or something. And it would show all the assembly lines of how they make stuff like that. But I have always wondered who makes those machines. I have a patient that he makes the machines that like do that, right? And he monitors how they work and he like programs them. I was like, I finally
yeah,
found the guy that runs the machine that makes them,
that
guy
makes
that
the
makes the
machines.
machines that make
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, that's pretty cool. What's really cool is just thinking about this. So you invented and created this product that you actually use yourself every single day and makes your life happier. That's pretty
Yes.
cool.
Yeah, it
Um,
does.
Tell me about the whole business side of this. How long did it take for you to for the whole thing to start? What was that whole process like? How long did it take for you to break even? Was there a lot
Yeah,
of ups and
I mean,
downs?
my first goal, right, was to break even, right? To not lose any money. Like not, so you do take a gamble, invest, and you could do smaller, I don't know, you could do smaller batches. You could have molds made that can only run like 500 units. I think I put in I think it was about $50,000 to start with. Between the molds were like 25 and then all the product and all that. And then so it took, I don't know it's funny. I don't know exactly how long it took to break even. I did learn this. Dental offices are great business because they just produce, right? But things with inventory are a different animal because okay, so I put in 50 and then I make back 120, but then I got to put back in 50 to order more product. And it's
Yeah,
always this like cycle where it's like, wow, I've sold a lot of these, but I don't like the income is not huge. So
yeah,
I call it my side hustle. I use it. It's funny. I have lots of hobbies and I just, whatever I use this income as not like retirement savings or anything. It's funny. I just use it for like bought a wake surfing boat and stuff like that, like some
sure.
mountain bikes and things like that. So I'm not quitting my day job to do this, but it definitely is profitable every year. So it's great to have on the side. So it's something I can continue after dentistry as well. So I think I broke even probably about a, maybe like 9 months into it, a year into it.
Hmm.
And then after that, it's all, once you've paid off all I did it all, I didn't do loans or anything. So once you own the inventory, then it's all profit after that. But you got to pay marketing and you got to pay taxes. And it's like, so same
And what's
thing.
it like dealing with a factory in China? Is there issues with politically with getting the parts you need, and how does that work?
It's not bad. I use a company in Seattle that is like the liaison with the factory and they
Mm,
have someone in the factory. So I was very hands off as far as that part. I mean,
okay.
I came up with the design, I submitted to them, they kind of modified it, then they communicate. I never communicate with the factory directly. It's always through this middle person that helps me and understands because that's way beyond. And I just only have so much time and I have a family. And so it's kind of, I call this business is like it's in the margins of my life. It's
Hmm.
between patients. It's a phone call here, a couple emails here, like I'm very available to answer questions and things about it, but it's always like in the middle of my day. It doesn't take a lot of time out of my life at all on a
Hmm.
day off or anything. So that's what's kind of nice about it. It fits in my life.
Yeah, it's similar, with my website and the podcast and whatever I'm doing. I do it in between patients, kind of in the gaps, um, and I find it to be such a great distraction from the office. So when I'm done with a patient, I'll go back and answer some emails or do something on my website, and the day just flies by because I'm
Yeah.
always busy, and it's not just patients or dealing with the business of the dental office. It's a great distraction to have something else going on. Do you find that as well?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, yes. Or it's not overwhelming. It's like a nice change of pace to be able to do something and be excited about something that's not drill. I mean, as dentists, it's hard because you're only making money when you're actually working, right? So it's nice to have something else that kind of goes on its own as well, and then it also fills in that time between that's different. And it's pretty easy as far as dentistry is demanding, and you're just in with the patient. And I always tell people that they don't really understand it, like, you got to do your best work every single time, at every moment of every day, all day long, and that's exhausting. So this is not like that. This is answering emails. It's not hard work. So it's kind of nice to have it time filler as well.
Yeah, I compare dentists to like NFL kickers. You're expected to kick that extra point. When you do, it's your job, and if you miss, then that's your fault and it's a problem. So you have to have your best game and always be on, and that patient needs your undivided attention while you're with them, and it's exhausting. It is. So now, what about do you do all of this yourself? You don't actually have a team?
I have like a marketing person that does it, and then my staff helps me. I got my staff does a lot of boxing and shipping and that kind of thing. So I kind of do it throughout the day.
Okay. What about patents? Did you get a patent on it?
I have a utility patent. So there's two types of patents. There's design patents and utility patents. The design is much less powerful. It's just like you can tweak a design of something and get a patent on it. And then all you got to do is switch the design a little bit and you get it. Where utility patents are more of like something that is like a function or an idea of an idea. So I have a utility patent for something that hooks to a dental light and it has an arm that holds a media device. So yeah, I called a friend of mine. I have a friend that went to the Supreme Court from high school, went to the Supreme Court to defend a patent or fight a patent. It was Monsanto Seed Company he was fighting against, which he lost. But he went to the Supreme Court at like age 40. And so I called him because he's a patent attorney and his price was ridiculous. So I actually wrote the first. So if you've never done a patent, you got to find out how it works. You have an idea and you do a provisional patent, and they don't even read it. It's just submitted, and so you can do that yourself, and you just come up with it. You can go online, and they have LegalZoom and stuff where they give you all the questions, and then it creates a provisional patent, and you have 1 year to apply for your final patent. And then and that can take like 1.5 years, 2 years to even get it. But when you get it, it goes all the way back to the day you filed your provisional patent. So that's the powerful part. So if you have an idea, it's like good idea to just go out and like get the provisional. It doesn't cost, it's like you can do it yourself. It's really not, it's not the final patent. It's not super technical like a final patent is. And then, then you have that, and then you go, and then you just wait, and they come back and they have like little issues with things. And so you can do a search. I don't know if have you ever had an idea and then searched it and found it? Like, I have little ideas here and there. I like the paddleboard, and I had an idea for like a paddleboard, like a stand-up paddleboard paddle, because we have a house on a lake, and I noticed that everyone sits down and paddles, and they always want a kayak paddle. So I thought, I just have a little paddle that hooks on the end that you could like slide down and use it like a regular stand-up paddleboard, and then like people could attach it. And I looked on, and if someone has it, right? Like you can do a Google patent search and it's already out there.
It's there.
Like, oh, so I always have ideas, and then I look them up and I'm like, oh, someone already did it. So it was kind of fun to have an idea that no one had done yet. So, which is strange. I remember the first person that bought one was in California. First person that bought it that wasn't my friend. And I was like, I told my wife, and she's like, isn't that the point? And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, I don't know. It's just so different than dentistry. It's like you have this thing in your brain, and then someone out in the world actually like paid money to buy it, and it's not the money even. It's just like, it's kind of cool to have like this thing you created that someone else wants, and it makes their life better. So that's the fun.
That is super cool. And now the patent, did you have to hire like a specific?
I did it actually through LegalZoom, and then they hook you up with an attorney. Okay. And then you pay them to kind of do the final tweaking. And then they help you write it. Like they take your provisional one, and then they modify it to your final one and help you get all the drawings together and stuff. So
that's pretty cool.
But it was way cheaper. I mean, it was like $5,000 versus my friend was like $20,000. So, and you don't, just because you filed it doesn't mean you're getting it, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, can't spend 20 grand on for a patent that I don't even know if I'm going to get approved.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
It's so do you think if you didn't get that patent, you would have continued on with it and
I
just
probably would have, because sometimes
kept
it's
making it?
first to market. And I mean, I'd like to know if anyone's ever like found it and like thought of it and was like, oh, there's a patent, who
Yeah.
knows? And a big company could like destroy you anyway. So yeah. So I don't know. It's just been going strong in this little like niche where it's like not a big enough deal. I had ADEC. I mean, I truly think the future is. I already have an idea that you could just incorporate into a dental light that had this arm, maybe flexible version. And I worked with ADEC for a while. They were just kind of in this. They have like it's a big deal to bring a new product to market. But I went down to ADEC's factory and sat and like it was funny that like the CEO said he was like kind of skeptical, and then we put one on a dental chair and we put him in there and put some headphones on him and put like his favorite movie on. And he said, once those headphones came on and like the screen was in his face, he's like, I didn't care what you guys were talking about. It was kind of funny, but it was like in a cycle where they said they had all these new products coming out and they just didn't have the engineers to like do it. So I should probably start kind of heading that direction as well. So
I was going to ask you if you were ever, offered, to get bought out by
I
one of the
have,
big companies.
I've been offered to be bought out, but it was by like a supply company that
Mhm.
and it was just not enough. It wasn't enough, to like make it worth it. It's kind of hard to sell your baby. So
Yeah.
I have like a number that if someone offered me, I would say yes, but it's not, it hasn't been yet. So,
Not quite there yet.
yep.
Now, so, you had such a good point when you said, the golden goose about dentistry and, that's our bread and butter. Do you have any other businesses or any other things that you invest in other than your MolarMediaMount and your other than your dental office?
I don't have any other. At one time I was selling paddle boards out of just like a love of paddleboarding and all my friends wanting cheaper paddle boards when they first came out, but I stopped that after it kind of got saturated. So yeah.
So
But
it's just
other than that, I mean, as far as investment, like I don't have any companies. I invest as far as financial planning, that kind of thing, with a
yeah.
financial planner and stuff like that. So
It's also very true about what you said about the trade shows, and who knows if those are going to be coming back, and if they do, are they going to still be, virtual or hybrids or, um, but to get a booth and sit there for the whole weekend, it's a lot of time you're investing, and it must be exhausting,
yeah,
sitting there at one of those booths and trying to, sell your product to every dentist that walks by.
yeah. And
Um,
dentists, I don't know if you know this, that they're cheap. That's what I learned. I learned that at the first trade show I went to. It was like, wow, I just didn't really understand. Like dentists as a whole, they're always want a deal. So you always got to have a special.
that's why I created my website.
They like specials. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, your whole website is based off that. So that's
Yeah.
good. Good
And
people. Just yeah.
it's so true. And it comes from the fact that, we were trained clinically, but we had no training in business. And we're one of the rare professions where you can have a very successful business with absolutely no business or accounting background. Um, so, dentists are notoriously cheap. But, is it that we don't really know any better? I mean, this is, not the business side is not anything we were trained in. I can see, why that, is the way it is. And I've talked to, when I was developing my website, I talked to a lot of um, sales reps, and some were in dentistry, some were out of dentistry. And the ones that were out of dentistry and in medical sales, they said, working with dentists is great because we're the CEOs, we're the owners, and we can get a decision. We're the decision makers. Where if you're trying to sell to a hospital or
Right.
even a medical office, there's so many levels and so much red tape that it's hard to get to the decision maker. But dentists, a lot of times they're set in their ways. They're used to doing things, one way and they don't want to change. So it's a tough sell. Also, a lot of them would wait until the trade show for the trade show price. So
Right.
yeah, I could see, dentists are we're a different breed, as I say.
Right. I,
Um,
have you ever thought about the other thing too, is that like when it works against you being the CEO, like the patient is like dealing with the owner of the company all the time, right? Where
mhm.
normally like if they have a complaint, that's why I think emotionally it's hard to be a dentist too. Like you feel everything, you get it all, right? Where I think
Yeah.
if you owned a grocery store, like you'd have a manager underneath you, like all these layers underneath you, but it's like they're right at you all the time. And I think a lot of people like out of dentistry don't understand that, what it's like to be like make all the back end decisions, but then also you're on the front end, you're like the face of the business, you are dealing with patients, and when things don't go perfect, it's like they're talking to the owner. So which gives you the power to help and do things, but it's also adds a little layer of complexity and stress to your life. So
Just another hat and another layer of stress. So,
right.
um, speaking of stress, did I hear you broke your wrist?
I did break my wrists. I broke my wrist 3 months ago, which um, I don't know, if you don't have disability insurance, it's a good thing to have. That and overhead insurance. So I'd go back to good. I would even go back a step and say like, how do I know about that stuff? Well, very early on, and this is my advice I give a lot of dentists, is like I work with a company in Texas, and I don't get anything from them other than I'm just a client, but it's called Kane Waters, and it doesn't have to be them, but it's basically a dental financial planning company, and they manage kind of my life as far as, hey, you need to have this much disability insurance, like, oh, you need to have this much overhead insurance, oh, your fluoride should be this price, like, oh, you need to produce, oh, you basically kind of pick how you want to live your life, and they manage around you a plan for your entire life, which one, stress, like that decreases stress. Some people think a budget or a plan is like stressful. I think not having a budget is stressful. Like I know how much I need to save to retire at X year with X lifestyle, right? So having that, and then having someone that has my back and has come up with like, oh, have this insurance. Oh, by the way, you need to pay your disability insurance out of your home checking account with post-tax dollars, so that when you get on disability, it's not taxed, like stuff like that. So right now I'm sitting at 3 months out of not working, and I haven't got a dime from disability yet, but I know that it's all coming in and it's retroactive, and I'm just very thankful that I had that in place and had a team in place that's like looking out for me and wanting to take care of me and have like protect my business. So yeah.
So do they also hold your disability insurance as well,
No, they
or do
don't
they just
hold it.
advise
They
you?
just tell you how much you should have, right? And so, there's a point where it's like diminishing returns, like you're paying too much to get too much when you don't really need that. And then, yeah, so they just kind of like facilitate a plan for you. Like you should have this much, they'll even look at my car insurance and be like, yeah, you can afford a higher deductible to get your monthly payment down, all the way every part of my life, which is a great, and if you could have that early on, I don't know. It's funny. My guy uses me as like a example because I like someone to tell me what to do. Like tell me what to do and I'll do it. I
Yeah.
don't want to think about it and come up with the plan. I just want to execute it. So, he has a guy that's kind of like a patient. You have a patients that come in every 6 months and they have a treatment plan and they do nothing. And you're like,
Mhm.
you're paying me to tell you what to do with my expertise. So he has another guy that started the same time I did. Um, and he doesn't ever do anything. He doesn't save like he's supposed to. He doesn't put money in his 401k. He doesn't profit shit. He doesn't do all that. And so like he uses like our graph, like with no names on it, of like, wow, it actually works. So,
Mhm.
I mean, my wrist is a perfect example. Like this could have been a huge hardship. And because I had that stuff in place and have a plan and have savings and have rainy day fund, all that stuff, all with the help of someone helping me do that, has been a great blessing in my life. So
How often do you meet with them? Is it like once a year, or do you just email
I
them
do
as
like a
needed?
full day once a year, and
Mhm.
then it's quarterly phone calls. So
Okay. And can we see the wrist?
Yeah, wrist. So I'm out of a brace, but I think that's as far as it'll bend. It should go like that. So
Oh, wow. What a
yeah,
difference.
I know, but it's hard. Yeah, I'm like, I can't imagine extracting a tooth right now, you know,
How'd you do it?
mountain biking. And it wasn't, I've been mountain biking for 30 years. And a lot of people have given me grief that I'm like going to get hurt someday. Like, I like to kiteboard, I like to mountain bike, I like to ski. Like, you won't be able to work. I'm like, I work so that I can do those things, right? I don't not do those things so that I can work. And I work hard and I play hard. And this was just an unfortunate way I fell in. Like, I could have fallen in 150 spots. I happened to fall in some like a drop off into some rocks, and it was bad luck. But I could have been hurt my neck or back or anything, so I'm fine. They can fix a
Yeah,
wrist. They can't always fix your brain. So yeah,
I've tried, and I've asked every doctor and they can't fix my brain, but
yeah,
yeah. So I guess you're right. It could have been a lot worse. You could have, you know, broken your neck or back.
yeah.
Um, so I wanted to get into your office. So you graduated a year ahead of me. So you were 2001. You went to the University of Washington.
I did for undergrad and dental school. Yep.
And did you go right into private practice, or did you do an associateship
I
or
worked
GPR?
my childhood dentist called me when I was in dental school because I was still a patient, right? I would see him and he had torn his rotator cuff, and rotator cuff surgery is something you can plan. So it's not like an emergency. You kind of know it's coming. So he's like, "Hey, when do you graduate? Will you come work with me for a couple months and then take over for 3 months while I have surgery?" So I did that. And then I stayed on for a year. And then in that office, there's 3 dentists and they're not partners. There's space, it's space sharing, which is kind of a nice arrangement. And at the end of that year, one of the guys was like, his family wanted to move out to a different part of the state. So I bought his office. So I still work with my childhood dentist, that same guy that I worked with right out of school. So, and another dentist as well. And so we are in a space sharing. So we share things like rooms and gloves and some Cavitrons and that kind of thing, but anything like composite and implants and all that is separate. Our employees are separate. We share one like greeter, but our front, like our office manager, all that's completely separate. So that's what keeps it magic is there's no money. There's no money between us. Splitting gloves is you just split it based off production for a 3-month average, I think we do. And there's no controversy over that. So these guys have been partners. Those 2 guys have been partners they're 20 years older than me. So they've been partners for, since like 83 or something. And they've got along great. And it's because of that, I think. There's not a competition. Like if I want to change my office, I change my office. I can hire more staff. I can do whatever I want. So but you have the camaraderie, which I really like. Having a couple of dentists, like we share an office, like with desks. We each have our own desk, and it's great. It's like we do a 2 weeks on, 1 week off schedule. So we work for like 4.5 days, and then you have a week off. So there's always, it's like every week I go to work, the other dentist is there, like one guy, and the next week is the other guy. And do we work on our week off here and there? Yes. We add some days here and there on those months where you have 2 weeks off, but it's been a great experience because you have like another dentist to bounce ideas off, but you don't work for them. They don't work for you. All their employees don't work for you. But when your employee is sick, you can get people to fill in.
Mm-hmm.
So we very rarely use temp people because we have all these people in our office that happen to have the day off that will fill in, and they're all friends. So they all help each other out. So that's been a great setup. And, you need a cone beam. Guess what? It's a third the price, right? You want CEREC, you want iTero. Like we have every gadget, everything, because it comes at a, 66% discount. So back to the deals,
So it's called a space sharing. So it's actually the same physical office, and do you
same
just get
waiting
a
room.
certain amount of rooms for that day? How does that work?
Yeah, so it's a little confusing, but we have 13 operatories, but you get on your 2 weeks on, you get 5 of them. So for 2 weeks, you get 5, and then the same 5 the next week. And then on your week off, there's 3 rooms in the back that you can use. So you can work as much as you want. And yeah, we have an endodontist that works on Fridays. So that he's in one of the rooms or 1 or 2 of the rooms in the back. So yeah, so we just rotate chairs. So yeah, it takes a little flexibility, but we're not, they used to do it where one person would work to a certain time and then the next people would come in and work when they're just opening the practice from a startup, when they needed longer hours and things. So they said that was a little bit of a hassle because it was like, hey, you got to finish because we got to start. But this is not like that. I mean, those rooms are yours. They are 100% yours. So, yeah.
So you share pretty much just disposables as far
Yep.
as the overhead, and then the rest
And,
you have like,
we'll share iteros and, CEREC machines and things like that kind of stuff. But everything that's this like simple disposable stuff is all shared between us.
okay, so it's really like the little things and the big things. It's like, um, what
But
about the
not things
staff?
like composites and things that are like unique to you,
Right.
and impression trays and all that stuff is all your own. So you have your own.
So you have your own staff.
We have our own staff. My assistants do not work for the other two dentists. They'll fill
Okay.
in, but they are my employees, completely separate.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
It keeps
just
it
that's
very
a
clean. It's not complicated. It's complicated to explain, but it's not complicated in real life. It's like, when I have a day off, my staff has a day off. And,
and you do 2 weeks on and 1 week off. That sounds amazing.
yes, it's amazing.
That is I mean, I'm actually writing a book about burnout and stress, and I've interviewed a lot of dentists, and burnout is a major factor in dentistry. And a lot of the dentists that I asked, you know, looking back, if you could have changed something, what would you have changed? And a lot of them said, taking more time off and reducing my hours. So you're getting every 3 weeks you have a week off.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, you
such
can
a
go on a 9-day vacation and not miss a day of work. So once a month at least. So I mean, it comes I have pretty like financial goals, of retirement and stuff. So I don't, if it's February, there are some issues like February 1st is the Saturday before your week off. That means you're going to have, and then there's like, a holiday in February, and then you're going to have the last week of February off. So, and you might only work 9 days that month. I will add some days on one of the weeks off, but it's a guaranteed at least 1 week off a month, like full week, Monday through Friday, which is powerful. It's like a recharge. And then you're like, you can do the things with your kids. You can go on spring break with them and you're not even really missing. You don't have to like book it off. It's like planned. So my friends know, they call me, like if they want to go on vacation, they're like, when's your week off? Because they are flexible, right? But being a dentist, you're not that flexible. So that's been great too. And I just stumbled into that, but it's worked out really well.
So you actually, so this was your childhood dentist, and did you say you associated there for 3 months,
Well,
or you?
I worked for a couple months and then he was gone for 3 months with surgery. And then I
Okay,
stayed on. So I was there a total of a year.
before
And then
you
I just
actually?
literally worked on Friday and then like went to work on Monday as the owner of the other place. It was really like really nice transition because I was same bill, it was like, oh, today I'm owned. Like yesterday or Friday I worked for you, and today I'm the owner of my own office in the same office that I was so familiar with. So
And
that I grew
there's
up going to as well.
at that before that it was just two dentists there, and now you're the third.
No, there was three. I bought
There
out
was
one of them.
okay. Oh, okay, I
Yeah,
see.
he left. So
Okay,
there was always three, and I replaced one of them.
okay.
And
So
I've
you
been there.
basically took
That was
over.
like in 2002. So been there for 18 years.
Basically, you took over that dentist staff, and
Yep.
that is such an interesting way to practice.
Yeah, and then back to I thought life was easy when I had like interest only loans, and then I had an accountant up here, back to the less stress. And I was like, saved a bunch of money the first year. And then the next year I had to infuse it all back into my office. And my accountant around here was like, oh, things look great. And I was like, things are not great because that money left the business. It shouldn't go back in. And so that's when I went to that company in Texas, Kane Waters, and they were like, they saw the problem. It was like, it was a production problem. I just wasn't producing enough to pay with the loans I had and the student loans and the practice loan. I just wasn't producing enough. And I was like, but I don't know how. Like, you need to do this much more. And And I was like, I don't know how. And so they hooked me up with a practice coach. I used someone called Sharon Tiger, and she was a lifesaver. So she comes in. The thing about practice coaches, we don't know anything about running a dental office when we get out of school, but there are people that know how to do it, right? So she just showed me how to put systems in place that have really, like, my office pretty much runs itself with these systems that I didn't create. She created them in my office, like, and that's been a life changer as well. So I just go to work and work, and come home and get it. I don't do stuff. I mean, I went on a mountain biking trip with some friends, and one of them was a dentist as well. And he was always on his computer, and he was always, doing stuff with his office and things. And my other friend's like, I have never seen you do that. And I was like, you're right. Because I don't, because we just have like a system in place that for everything, and it just runs. I mean, you got to do it, and you got to execute, but you don't have to come up with it on your own. You can pay someone to help you do that. That will make you way more like profitable and way less stress. So
how often do you meet with the practice coach?
I mean, it was more of they came in for 3 days or 3 days. They observe one day, and then they like go through the whole thing. And then after that, you meet a lot with them for a year over the phone. And then she's come back once or twice, but then now, I mean, I haven't had her for 10 years. So it's not an ongoing thing for me. It's more like get it going, I might call her for advice here and there, but yeah.
So
but between those two things, like having someone your back helping you run your office, and then having someone planning for taxes and 401k and all that, and savings, and just how you want to live your life, has been great too.
Now, are there any downsides to the space sharing? Would you say, were there any negatives? I mean, you have to.
Yeah. Because I really wish we had 15 rooms, so that I had 5 rooms on my week off, so that I could switch to work on my week off and take off one of my weeks on, and I would have full capacity, but we don't. So that's one thing. If I could go back in time when we remodeled, I would have stole more space from the neighbor that was leaving. I would have taken up more just so that we could have the full capacity, because it does limit you in like having associates and things, because it's more complicated than having but the benefits far outweigh that. And, if you knew that you were going into that situation, I would just say, it's not that expensive to get a few extra rooms, even if you don't even outfit them yet, right? You just have the space for them in the future. That could solve the issues that we have. That's really the only issue, is you're kind of limited sometimes that you just don't have the rooms if you want to switch. Like, let's say your kid's spring break is a certain week, and that's your week on, and you have the week off before that, and you can only work 3 out of 3 rooms instead of 5. It limits what you can do as far as, having one hygienist instead of but we use those.
So it's mainly the capacity issue is, right. Would you say the only negative? But going back to something you said earlier, the camaraderie is, I find that, I have a partner and we have an associate and some specialists that come in, and having another dentist there to, bounce ideas off of, and just, in the back office, and just hang out with, it's, that peer engagement is such a nice stress relief. Because a lot of dentists out there are solo practitioners, and they're by themselves, and it's just them and their staff. And it's nice having that, that other dentist there. It is kind of like a marriage, for me in my situation, is we're partners, and we're, it's not like your space sharing situation. We share the overhead, we share the staff, everything. So, and I see him more than my actual wife. So he's like my, I'm married to him at work. Right. So a lot of partnerships I've heard can go wrong, because if you don't see eye to eye and you don't communicate, things could definitely go wrong. So there are some negatives, but it's like you said, it's great having that camaraderie and that other dentist to talk to, and it's fun too.
I don't know, even if it's not, mainly it's not about dentistry even, it's just, but they just dentists understand dentists, I think. I mean, you can go to a friend from dental school that you haven't seen in 15 years and like one, you went through like war together, right? It was almost, like boot camp together, of the
Yeah.
boot camp of dental school. And then you just have lived this life that's like a parallel life that you just understand the other person really well. And so it's just nice to have someone just to kind of that understands you, that doesn't work for you as well, right? Like if you're just, yeah, we talk about that a lot. One of them says, like, if I worked by myself, I think I'd be under my desk crying sometimes, like I need
Yeah.
a little someone to talk to and, spend some time with. I'm not paying.
It's so true. In dental school, our peer engagement is at its highest. I had 99 other peers there, with me day in, day out. And, we understand each other, walked in their shoes. What I don't understand is that you, have you gone skydiving more than 350 times?
Yeah. So I used to, that was what, it's funny is like, I would do all through high school. In high school I started, but in college and even dental school, like before finals week, I would go skydiving for a day, and then I could sit down and like buckle down and study for a week, right? So I would need that as like a stress relief. So it's that was a part of my life. I haven't been in a while, so my son's 17. You can't go till you're 18, and I was like totally gonna like secretly get back into it because he wants to go when he's 18 and do a tandem, and I was gonna get like back into it, and then and I might still, it depends on my wrist, but and kind of surprise him on the day he goes and like jump out next to him, right? So yeah.
So, I used to go to the bars in Fort Lauderdale to de-stress. You would go skydiving.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, what's it like? Tell me, like the first time you jumped out versus the 350th. Is it still the
Yeah,
same
so at
thrill?
first you're not, it's like sensory overload. You don't, I don't know, maybe it's like the first time you do a dental procedure you've never done. It's like when it's over, you kind of don't remember it very well. It's sensory overload the first time. I did it static line, which is where you climb out and then you let go and the parachute opens for you, which I actually think is much more committing than tandem. Tandem's where you could go tandem, literally, they could not even talk to you. They could just put you in the harness, snap. It's almost like a ride at Disneyland. Static line's different. Like if you have a malfunction, first of all, you have to climb out, you have to hang by the wing strut, you have to let go. No one's pushing you out behind you and rolling out through this big door. You have to like climb out, hang, you have to let go, you have to like wait for your parachute to open, and knowing after your like 3 or 4 hour class, learning like what it looks like when it didn't open correctly, what to do. You have to like cut away, open your reserve. It's like so much more mind committing that like it's a big deal when you get on the ground. So that was great. And then once I did that when I was like 16. Back then you could be 16. I'd go after school, work as a dishwasher for 8 hours, and it would pay for one skydive. And all my buddies did the same thing. We all worked at the country club washing dishes every shift. And then on the weekend we'd go. And then once you get later, it's just like being a fighter jet pilot with your friends. You're not thinking, like everyone always thinks you're thinking about dying or something. You wouldn't do it if you thought you were going to die. You just get to jump out of planes and run out the back of planes and hang upside down on the wing by your toes, like you hook your feet on it. It will kind of hold you on, stuff like that. You're just like flying with your friends. So it was great. I do have a buddy that never stopped skydiving. His whole life was skydiving. And I just talked to him a while ago, and he had, what did he have? 25,000 skydives. So
Wow.
350 is not very many. He did
Wow.
3 a day from the time we were 16 till 40. He had done an average. I did the math. It was 3 a day, every day of the year on average. So it was pretty impressive, however many he had at that time. So he's probably a little more comfortable than I am. So,
I mean, I'm nervous just having this conversation. I don't think I could do it. But so again, thanks, Dr. Casey Culberson. Again, go to dealsfordentist.com and you can find his promo offer. Buy 2 Molar Media Mounts or 2 HoverShields and get 1 free. And if you enter the code dealsfordentist at checkout, you get an additional 10% off. So thanks for joining us. That was a blast. Before we wrap things up, I always ask, do you have any final, nuggets and words of wisdom for the young dentists?
Here's my pro tip. And a lot of people don't think about this. It changed my office. I'll give you 2 quick things. We had a sterilization person that was sterilization. She was bored. leaving. We had like 2 assistants and a sterilization person. They were leaving. She was leaving. She was bored. And I just had this day like, what if I just made you a chairside assistant? And I changed my office. Now all 3 of them do everything. So they all sterilize, they all clean, they can all jump in on a crown prep. And my production, the ability to like add a crown prep, because I had this 3rd assistant that I was paying an extra like $5 an hour, was like life changing. That was huge. And then just having the ability, it paid off. And then the other one is I do my hygiene checks after I numb a patient. I interrupt the middle of the hygiene appointment and I do my hygiene check. And it's also a game changer. There's no stress. No one's calling you. No one's begging for you. No one's waiting for you. It's like, I numb a patient to do some fillings. I go do the hygiene check and it's in the middle and there, it comes with that. But, and then I go back and the patient's ready to go and I work. And then at the end of the appointment, if I finish early, I'm done. Or if I go a little later, no one's waiting for me. I can take a break and go numb the next person if I had to. So it's been that part has been, it seems little. And I said that once before on something and a guy like called me and was like, you changed my office. My dad did it where we waited to the end. I didn't even think of doing it a different ways. Like my stress level was way down. So those 2 things are my like little pearls that I think have changed just my day-to-day, like stress level and production and all that. So that's good. Those are my little pro tips.
Yeah, that's great. There's no wasted time. No one's waiting. The staff's happy, you're happy. So that's a great idea. All right. Well, let's be in touch. This was great. Great interview. And let's be in touch. And thanks for joining us.
All right. Thanks, Eric. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too. Take care.
Bye.